Coming up on Tech News today, Justin Bieber gets kicked off of Facebook. We'll tell you why it's not what you think. Also, everybody's starting stores now. Apparently, Apple wants to start a subscription service store for music. Amazon wants to start an Android store for some reason. And if you're going to track someone, make sure they don't discover the tracking device.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, October 8th, 2010. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute.info. MailRoute is a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free, at MailRoute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Jason Howell.
This is the show where we kick around the tech news of the day along with you and try to make sense of it all. We're hoping to have Lee Brown on the show. But we're having problems connecting him via Skype. So maybe at some point during the show,
Keep the faith.
We'll
That's right.
clear out the pipes that are connecting us to the UK.
The tubes,
Flush
they're
the
clogged.
pipes.
We will flush the
It's
tubes.
unfortunate. I will continue to try to connect to him, though.
Meanwhile, we bring you a new Apple Music subscription rumor. This one via the New York Post, which, as Ars Technica puts it, has a checkered history with rumors.
Right.
But there's a few other sources out there saying this as well. CNET's reporting something similar. They're saying that the negotiations continue for a subscription music service on Apple. The number being tossed around for subscription would be $10 to $15 a month, and that Apple is allegedly trying to keep the labels from allowing Spotify to bring their service to the U.S.
Spotify actually just recently tweeted something like, world domination, almost complete, even though they're not in the U.S. yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. You would think that that would have something to do with the other.
That leads you to believe that Spotify is about to launch in the U.S.
Or wants us to think that they are.
Right.
Because that rumor's been going on for quite a while as well.
They bought Lala when?
Like a year ago?
January, I thought.
Or January?
I thought it was
Yeah.
January.
All right. So it hasn't been a year yet.
I mean,
They shut Lala down in the spring.
That's right.
right.
so
yeah, I think that they
we have
bought it
been-
and it was a few months later.
The music service Lala has been off the map now for 3-4 months.
$10 to $15 per month.
5 months.
You assume means that it would be $10 minimum for what, limited usage. I mean, I know RDO is $5 for web-only usage, and if you want to go mobile, then it's $10.
Yeah,
So there's probably some sort of a tiered thing going on.
that's probably
here.
what the negotiations are about, is what can Apple do
Yeah.
that is unique, that provides a user benefit, because that's always their thing, is like, you all wanted this. And so remember when the iTunes Music Store launched, Steve Jobs made a big deal about, okay, we're going to have DRM, but what is it that you really complain about with DRM? I can't put it on multiple devices. Well, you get 5 devices.
Right.
We think that's enough for anyone. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing they're looking for, is some kind of message to say like, well, yeah.
Yeah, 5 of your devices, Apple. I mean, on RDO, you can put RDO mobile on an Android or BlackBerry or an
Right.
iPhone or, you know.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
so
see
it's
Apple coming out with an Android
not
app.
exactly the same thing,
No.
Apple.
Although, what if they did? That would be huge. If Apple came out with a music subscription service and an Android app to support it.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's
Our heads
unthinkable.
would explode.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
No. What is happening is the Galaxy Tab is coming out. We know it's coming November 1st in Europe, and Boy Genius Report says they've got info from sources. It's all rumors today on Friday. They've got sources that say the Galaxy Tab will launch November 14th in the U.S. on Sprint and will cost $399 with a contract or $599 full retail.
$399. That's not as horrible as it could be.
It's a couple inches smaller than the iPad and a couple $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit smaller than the iPad. I got to hold one the other day.
Yeah, what did you
Galaxy
think
Tab. This
of
was
that
at
tab?
the LG booth, and it's weird because they wouldn't show. Well, they showed me the back of it, but they wouldn't
Was it
let
the
me show
LG
it.
booth?
Yeah,
Why did the Samsung Galaxy Tab at the LG
I don't
booth?
know.
That is weird.
it is weird.
Okay. Anyway,
But the only thing I'm noticing is in this picture on Boy Genius, it says Galaxy Tab and Samsung on the back, and it didn't say that.
We can't afford a booth, LG. Would you? I know nobody's going to come to your booth because you got nothing new. Would you mind having our product there?
I thought it was the LG booth. Yeah,
Maybe-
it was a
maybe.
wine-fueled event. Who knows? But yeah, it's I don't know. I'll be really interested to see the response.
You said it was weird when you held it landscape mode because it was not as deep. The aspect ratio is different.
It was weirder in portrait mode.
I'm sorry, in
actually,
portrait mode, right,
because
I misspoke.
because it's more like a piece of paper where the iPad is a little bit more square.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're rotating it, it renders pages differently, especially online, but not so differently. This was for a web page. I mean, unless you've got a really narrow margin that you're reading, it squishes everything. And I thought, well, I don't like that. I guess you'd get used to it, and maybe it could be a bonus in some cases, but that struck me as a little odd.
I wonder if they'll have a Wi-Fi only version of this. I mean, they will in essence because you can buy it unlocked without a 2-year agreement. But that's $599. Suddenly, that's more expensive than an iPad because I can get a $499 Wi-Fi only one.
The prices seem from I don't know from what I saw. It's a nifty little tablet, but I really think they've got to keep those prices down however they can, or they're just not going to sell the units that they want to sell.
All right. Good news for the BlackBerry fans in the United Arab Emirates. The government said it will not go ahead with plans to ban BlackBerry services in the UAE. They said their talks with Research in Motion have proved fruitful. Let me find the quote here. All BlackBerry services in the UAE will continue to operate as normal, and no suspension of service will occur October 11th, 2010. That was the deadline they had given. The UAE Telecommunications Regulatory Authority acknowledged, quote, the positive engagement and collaboration of Research in Motion in reaching this regulatory compliant outcome.
Even though RIM says we are not striking individual agreements with any country, we're not going to do that. Way too much work for us. That's not how we operate. They're not saying what changed. I mean, did they just all sit down and have a really good lunch?
Yeah, well,
And the UAE goes, okay, I think we're good.
yeah,
I think we understand this better.
when the
Or did they
UAE
bow
put this
down?
deadline in, they said we need to be able to read BlackBerry messages.
Right.
Messages.
Messages.
We need to be able to
Corporate
read. It was
email.
very clear, right?
Yeah.
Now they've reached an agreement. It's very fuzzy.
Well, BlackBerry, if they were to bend on any of their rules, obviously don't want any of us to know that because then
Right.
it means we bend on rules.
So maybe they did just have a very good lunch.
I hope so.
And they said, you know what, RIM, you guys are all right.
you know what? We like your style.
Yeah.
We're okay with this. Thumbs up.
Yeah. And RIM said, look, we'll give you a server. It won't do anything. But then you can tell your boss, we got a server.
Now, the India verdict is still out, correct? They're
Right.
still under their 60-day let's review. So RIM has still probably got their hands tied up in.
They
all
are not
sorts
out of this section of the woods yet.
Right, right.
In fact, ABC News has a good list. Indonesia also wants to place a server in its country. Lebanon says it's reviewing it. We haven't figured out Saudi Arabia yet. So they've got a few more hurdles to launch to go through. And you know what? They're getting really good at this song and dance now, right? They've done it in a couple countries, and so they probably have it down. They're like, bring it on, India.
Right.
Bring it on, Indonesia. Let's go.
Bring it on, but we would really like to use your 1.2 billion users.
Yeah, we're not losing those.
So we'll do what you want, but
I mean,
really
in
nice
the
about
end,
it.
jokes aside, it's really important to know what they did agree to. Because if I'm going to use my BlackBerry in any of these countries, United Arab Emirates, anywhere else, I want to know, is it still secure? RIM is saying absolutely nothing has changed. Your communication is still secure, but they had to have done something.
I mean, local server perhaps.
Yeah.
That's the whole India situation.
All right, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsors, MailRoute.info. Tom Johnson, a friend of Leo Laporte, runs the company. He wrote Microsoft's hosted exchange services FrontBridge, if you've heard of that. Then he moved on to try to solve spam, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. I've been using MailRoute for a week now, and it has made a previously unusable email address for me that I run myself off of subbrilliant.com, acedetect@subbrilliant.com. I actually feel like I can safely just throw it out there, because if the spammers get a hold of it, the spam gets killed.
You said there was going on 10 years that you found your Subbrilliant email unusable.
Oh, yeah. No, I just abandoned it.
Yeah.
I'd given up on using it. I got about 30 addresses there. So I've got the catch-all address going to one place. I can actually get emails from people at that address again. And because of the response from TWiT users, he's created a smaller version. It used to be you had to have 20 accounts because this was meant for small businesses or people who run server for a large family or something. Yeah. So he's got a small business and family account now. List price is $33 per year as a TWiT user. If you go to mailroute.info, you get a discounted price of $29.70 per year. So it's just under $2.50 per month. Those are for people who want like 2 to 6 accounts. You just run a server that you use locally. Check them out, mailroute.info. It's route, not root, even though I pronounce it that way. Okay. But when I do that, people type R-O-O-T. That's wrong. It's R-O-U-T-E.
Okay.
Not saying that it should be pronounced that way.
Like Route 66.
Right. Get your kicks on Route 66.
I love that song. It's so good.
Yes. Amazon sent out a little more information about their prospective Android App Store today. They told developers what they'll be able to do now, which is prepare and submit marketing and promotional information. In a few weeks, they'll be able to finalize apps using an Eclipse plugin that they're creating and then be able to submit the app to the FTP where you can put it in the store. So they're serious about this. They're going to make an Android App Store.
You know what I like about this is that apparently they're going to allow developers to add videos, like how-to videos or welcome, this is how this app works videos into the store, which is something that you can't do with iTunes, you can't do with the Android App Store currently. And that's very helpful because a lot of times you just need something in motion, but rather than screenshots to decide if you want to go through the motion of downloading it or not. So I like that.
Full motion, emotion to decide whether you want to go through the motions.
It's my own research in motion.
Yes, it is. It's not capitalized though, so it's not a trademark.
Different kind, but the acronym works.
Also, no DRM requirement.
Yeah, it's up to the
different
developer.
than the Apple Store, right?
That's good, and that was a good move, I think, because that was kind of the fear is that you can play in our sandbox, but we're going to force you to change the base code, on all of the apps that come here.
That's said,
nice that it's an option.
As far as app stores go, though, Amazon does reserve the right to deny anybody to be in the store at their will, and they've said so.
Yeah, they're curating it, and they're charging $99 to develop for it, too. So it's similar to the App Store of Apple in a lot of ways. The question is, what phones are going to be able to take advantage of this? Will it come on any phones? All Android phones come with the Android marketplace right now. Is it going to replace that for some, or is it going to be like Verizon, where they've got their own version that's on there,
or an Android Amazon Marketplace app?
Will you
go? An app that you load.
Will you go to the Android Marketplace and download the Amazon Marketplace? And how much will they charge?
Yeah, exactly. What is the incentive to go through Amazon? I mean, if you're a loyal Amazon customer, fine. But if you're not using Amazon regularly...
I do think I understand now that this has been kicking around for a while why Amazon is doing this, right? Their strategy is we want to sell everything.
Yes.
We'll sell you soap.
Yeah.
We'll sell you books. We'll sell you digital downloads, and digital downloads include apps, and apps are big. And so just as they got into selling MP3s and selling videos, now they're going to sell apps. Makes perfect sense. And Android would be the perfect place to start it because it's allowed.
Right. And it's really all about awareness, because as soon as I realized that Amazon had an MP3 store, I started using it. It's pretty seamless. Amazon tends to do these things well.
Yeah, they do. And we may see it open by the end of the month, according to John Pachowski at All Things Digital.
Now, are they they're only going to carry apps that have a fee, a price, right?
Because no, actually, that you can put apps in the Amazon store for free.
But you just still have to pay Amazon.
You still have to pay your $99 to do that.
I see.
If you do charge, you actually have to agree not to charge more than you would charge in another store, because there are other app stores besides the Android Marketplace. And so Amazon's saying if you are going to set a price, you can't set a price really high in the Amazon store and then sell it for a lot cheaper somewhere else.
Sure. Cool.
I like it.
I like it too. That sounds pretty good. All right, we'll include a link in the show notes, by the way, to a Wired story, everything we know so far about Amazon's Android App Store, if you want to check that out. A California student got a visit from the FBI this week because he found a GPS tracking device on his car. Took it in for lube and oil, and he noticed a little wire sticking out by the exhaust pipe. So he's like, what the heck's that? Pulled it off. It looked like a little walkie-talkie thing, except it was just a battery and some wires and an antenna. Put it up on Reddit, showed pictures of it. 48 hours later, hello, this is the FBI. We'd like our device back.
This
We
is
believe you have something of ours, mainly because we put it there.
ridiculous for a variety of reasons. I mean, we should point out that this student, he's 20 years old, but he's in college in Santa Clara. He knows he's already on a watch list for flying within the U.S. because his father's head of was the head of a Muslim American organization of some kind.
Yeah, an Egyptian organization.
Right. And so, he was probably, if you and I found something like this, we might be looking at it a lot longer going, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this device? He'd probably put two and two together more quickly than maybe another average citizen who's going to get their oil changed.
Well, and apparently this isn't the current device.
No,
This isn't
it's like an outdated
old-fashioned-
one.
yeah.
They don't even use batteries anymore, apparently. According to a source in the FBI, they went, that's an old model.
Yeah, the new ones, they actually open up your engine and tie it to your car battery.
So, I mean, is the FBI like half-heartedly following this kid? Like, give him one of the old models,
This
one
is
of the
classic.
faulty.
This is classic government agency stuff, right? Which is like, hey, we need one for this kid. What priority? He's low priority. We just want to track him for a little bit just to check. He's probably nothing. We don't have any of the new ones though. You're gonna have to get one out of storage. That's fine. We'll just use one of the old ones because it's not a big deal. We'll only have it on there for a little while.
Well, I love that, though. I mean, can you imagine? It's like...
I don't know. I can't authorize you the expense of a modern one. Use one of the old ones out of the back.
In fact, according to him, they said, you're boring, and shook his hand and took the device back and left.
When they took it back, they said, we have all the information we needed. You don't need to call your lawyer. Don't worry. You're boring.
And to which he probably should have said, so why didn't you talk to me in the first place?
Yeah, really.
The ACLU has like knocked on his door and said, we are willing to go to court for you. This is the kind of stuff we like to lawyer up for. I'm a little disappointed, although I would probably not do any differently if I were in the same situation. I'm a little disappointed he didn't say, no, you can't have it back. Let's figure this out in court.
Well, apparently, according to him, again, they got him coming out of his house and said, do you have it? And if you don't, we're going to make your life pretty hard because clearly you do have it.
Yeah.
So he probably was like, I'd like to just maybe... I'd like to go to school
They could have
today.
gone all Gizmodo and had been like, prove it's yours.
Yeah, right.
I know it's yours.
Still, that's a weird day. That's a weird. That's a strange situation. Everybody look under your cars.
And in California, where he is, Santa Clara, in California, in the West, the courts have determined that it is legal to do this. Because in the East Coast, there's a different court that said it's illegal.
Now, wasn't that a recent ruling?
Yeah, there's conflicting rulings that haven't been resolved yet.
Because one of the Lebanese, I think she was Lebanese FBI agents that was speaking to him in Arabic, he said led him to believe that they had been following for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
So do the math. That's some fuzzy math.
They also said that they probably had a warrant, but they haven't said they definitely had a warrant.
The story is just
Probably had a warrant.
It's weird. That's a back to school special.
Kids are sharing too much online. Another after-school special. Those are the sentiments expressed in the Common Sense Media study. They did 2 nationwide polls in August, one of adults and one of teens. Found 92% of parents believe their kids are sharing too much information about themselves online. 85% said they're more concerned about online privacy than they were 5 years ago. And the teens... They think their friends are sharing too much online. 79% of teenagers questioned in their own poll think their friends share too much personal information. Those teens also see the repercussions down the road. 58% fear that sharing too much personal information online could prevent them from being hired for a job.
A lot of this stuff is, no joke, kids sharing too much information on social networks could really be a problem, especially the geolocation stuff. But it's also, it reads like some kids say that they think that their friends share too much. It's like, kind of like the old days of high school where one kid is more responsible and says, you shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah.
You're underage at the keg party.
Well, and that kid says, I'm totally fine. That guy over there, he shouldn't be drinking. Right. I've only had 2.
Right.
Yeah, because everybody thinks they're okay.
It's different phases of kids with responsibility issues and parents who are are talking to their kids about the dangers of social networks. I'm sure it runs the gamut.
Well, it's a good thing to bring up. I don't usually love these stories because it's somebody asking somebody else what they think, and it doesn't actually show much. It's like, well, we don't know how much information is being shared. Is too much information being put online? Is a teenager checking into Foursquare really a risk? Or if you have proper privacy in place, is it only actually shared with your friends and it's not a problem? This study doesn't help with any of that. But what it does do that I think is positive is it raises awareness about what are the good practices.
One of the points that were brought up in the CNET article was that parents really need to be aware of the pictures that kids are in and make sure that their kids know that they can untag themselves from photos that their friends have put up. Now, if you're registered, let's say you've got to register, with your birthday and make sure that you're of age. If you're under 18. Maybe there should be an opt-in. Like, hey, your friend Tom has said that you're in this picture. Is this you? Before anything goes up. I mean, that kind of struck a chord with me. Like, yeah, I mean, I untag myself from unflattering pictures here and there, but I'm not a minor. And if I was, that might be a little more of a gray area.
Yeah. Of course, the FBI is just going to stick a tracking thing on your car.
Yeah, everybody knows where I am.
So that's not a big deal. What we all should be more concerned about is malware that is going to steal our behavior patterns. This is on Slashdot today, pointing to a story at the MIT Technology Review about a new class of malware that is emerging that could steal your behavior pattern. These infections go slowly. They don't depend on being like a botnet distributed to millions and millions of machines. What they want to do is they want to find the important folks, the influencers, so to speak, and then scrape all the public information that is being shared on all the different websites and social networks and places and building data mining, just like we're always concerned advertisers are doing, or like people are concerned that Facebook is doing. This malware can go out and scrape all this stuff, and all of a sudden they have a profile of you.
Well, how is that different than what the advertisers are doing?
It's just that with an advertiser, you at least know who to sue. Or who to put pressure on to create a different privacy policy. With malware, you don't know who's behind it.
So the idea of it being slow spreading is that you're not tipped off to the fact that somebody is watching you and knowing what kind of a person you are and where you go to dinner and who your friends are. Here's my question. Okay, so let's say that this happens to me. I'm the victim of behavior malware scraping. Now what happens to me? Something terrible happened.
Marketed to.
I get marketed to.
No.
To death.
Am I missing something? Because I feel like that's already happening, and I'm fairly good at ignoring.
You get marketed to in a way that you can't control, which is bad. But I understand that doesn't sound awful. It sounds annoying, but it doesn't sound
familiar.
Awful. Yeah, it sounds familiar. I think there's probably a lot of opportunity for identity theft, though, if you can build a nice profile. And one of the things that these researchers raise is the fact that, if somebody steals your credit card information, well, you cancel your account, you get a new credit card. Somebody steals your profile, you can't cancel your life and get a new one as easily.
Right.
Although, wasn't that what Eric Schmidt said, or Zuckerberg? I can't remember. One of them said,
those evil
just change
guys.
your identity. That's put words in my mouth.
I'm just kidding.
I think it was Schmidt who was joking that said, just change your identity.
Yeah,
not a big deal.
That is.
Yeah,
yep.
no, it's change your name or something, or your screen name. That's one thing. Change your behavior patterns.
And
that's
behavior.
really hard.
Well, that's the thing. Change your name doesn't necessarily mean that they don't still have your behavior pattern. When AOL released that data that was anonymized, and they started to figure out who people were from it, that showed like the amount of data about you can point out who you are. I think this points back to the other story, and it says eventually privacy is going to mean something entirely different in the future. And the idea that you have a picture of yourself drunk up on a Facebook page is really not going to seem as damaging in the hiring place as it is right now. Right now, it is without dispute damaging in most cases.
Yes.
But I think it's going to become so common, and the world is going to be so different after 20 years of dealing with this kind of openness that the concerns will be entirely different.
I agree with that.
Me too.
Well, if we're all in agreement, then let's go to the news fuse. Someone got hurt.
That was a Wilhelm scream.
As exciting as new phone books are new search engine rankings.
Yes!
The new rankings from Hitwise are here.
Woo!
If you still have your search results scorecard from last month, there's no need to get a new one. You essentially just knock 5% off Yahoo and give most of that to Ask.com and the rest to Bing, and you've pretty much got the same scorecard as last year. That means Google is still far and away number one.
If you're excited for an autumn wedding of Adobe and Microsoft, not to be confused with a white wedding, that's a different thing.
It's a nice day for an autumn wedding, too.
It's a nice day, but we're sad to disappoint you because after reports of a clandestine meeting between the two, some folks went off speculating merger. Could it be? But multiple sources have confirmed with other multiple sources that such a thing is universally considered complete and utter nonsense.
Balderdash.
Or is that what they want us to think? Right?
Yeah, there's still room for conspiracy theory here. Reuters today reports that Hulu is likely to go public with their stock sometime in the first half of 2011. The company could raise $200 to $300 million with a stock offer. The service is an independent company backed by NBC Universal, Walt Disney, News Corp, and Providence Equity Partners.
Verizon President Lowell McAdam had one nice thing to say about Microsoft today. He said, and I quote, "I like our relationship with Microsoft,"
that's so nice.
Which is sort of an odd thing to say considering the other things he said were that RIM, Google, and Apple were the three major mobile OSs, and Microsoft was no longer in the forefront of our mind.
What does that mean?
Ouch. It's like a Renaissance-era courtier-style snub. One can assume Verizon is not amused either.
Not amused with your operating system.
No.
Meanwhile, in the Republic of France, French ISP Free has found a clever workaround to the Hadopi law. That's the one that requires ISPs to turn over info about alleged copyright infringers. Turns out the law doesn't require the ISP to tell the accused of infringer. The law also says only users who were alerted by their ISPs can be taken to court and be disconnected. So, Free is happily complying with the request for user information from prosecutors, but refusing to alert the users themselves, meaning the users cannot be prosecuted. You clever Frenchy types.
That is really clever.
Yeah.
What a dumb loophole. By the
Nobody
government.
noticed that?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Xmarks, the cross-browser syncing service, who's been in the news lately because they were going under, may not go under after all. The company now says it has multiple offers to keep the service running, including pledges from almost 30,000 supporters willing to pay, I don't know, $10 to $20 a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops, set to launch November 9th, already has higher pre-order levels than Call of Duty Modern Warfare did, and that's a world record holder. Guinness Book of World Records lists Modern Warfare as the biggest launch in the history of the gaming business, generating $401.6 million last November on its first day of sales. So Black Ops, probably going to sell well.
More news in the Android marketplace arena. Adobe Air arrived there last night. Air allows web apps to be installed locally. So now Android has Flash and Air, making it the most Adobe-friendly mobile OS out there, at least right now.
And finally, stop the presses. Justin Bieber has been kicked off of Facebook.
What? No.
I know.
Worst day. Ah!
Wow, that was a good teenage scream.
Thanks.
Justin Bieber of Jacksonville, not the singer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait.
He had been kicked off of Facebook because he was accused of using a fake name, even though his name is, in fact, Justin Bieber.
And he was Justin Bieber before Justin Bieber, the singer, was alive.
That's true.
So, I mean, this really sucks for him.
He's the OB, the original Bieber.
He's an adult man.
He has tried to contact Facebook to get reinstated, but has not had much luck. He says he also originally had his phone book up on his phone number up on his profile, and he was getting calls, like sometimes 50 messages in 2 hours of people who thought he was the singer Justin Bieber.
Apparently, he's married and he used his wife's last name and took down his number, but it's listed under her name. But some fan list got a hold of it, and now it's up on a website.
Oh, boy.
And he says, I just leave the phone off.
He also gets lots of fan letters.
Yeah.
That must be nice.
He says he also gets a lot of giggles at the grocery store.
Oh, you're Justin Bieber. Yeah. He's like, yeah, friend me on Facebook. Not anymore.
Whatevs.
Yeah.
What do you do if your name is Justin Bieber and you get kicked off Facebook? Yeah, that's my name, dudes.
Let Justin Bieber back onto Facebook. Sugar Mountain.
We need to start a petition in favor of Justin Bieber. Everyone will
let's
sign
start a
it.
group.
Yes. Facebook group.
Let Jacksonville Justin Bieber.
Free the
back on
Biebs.
Free the Bieber. Leave it to Bieber.
Oh.
All right, on to the calendar.
All right, the next version of Ubuntu 10.10 launches Sunday, 10.10.10.
Uh-huh.
Are you guys paying attention? Sunday is October 10th, 2010.
Only happens once a century.
Yeah, I know. So this one's Maverick Meerkat, and Tom, you pointed out to me that it's always April or October.
Yeah, you always get a
Ubuntu
.10 release in
or
October,
or a
right?
.4
Yeah.
if it's April. So 10.10.10 doesn't happen that often. Kind of fun. I like number games. AT&T Uverse customers can use their Xbox 360s as set-top boxes starting November 7th.
Ooh, nifty.
That's fun.
For both of the Uverse customers. No, they have a few more than that.
Yeah, I took a poll beforehand. And
Nobody here. But.
No one, and we don't know anybody who does, but I know that they have customers somewhere. Big Windows Phone 7 announcements are coming on Monday. That's October 11th. What do you think they'll be, Tom?
I think they'll be announcing phones. No, yeah, it's the make or break day, right? London and New York, Windows Phone 7. It's they're betting it all. It's like they're at Vegas and the chips are high on black.
Yeah. I didn't get to play with one Windows Phone 7 at CTIA the other night.
Really?
Not one.
No, that's weird because they have
were-
had them at other events.
They were glaringly absent.
They're, you know what? They're holding it all for Monday.
Yeah.
They're like, no,
Yeah.
we're not.
Of
We're
course.
gonna keep
Well,
it. All.
it was a
Yeah.
press event, so I can kind of understand. But I was disappointed because I was really hoping to see the interface.
Let's move on to our voicemail. 260 TNT show is the call number. I always say that. I always say call number these days. What's wrong with me? It's the phone number. Well, you don't
On
have to
which-
actually use a
to which
phone.
The
you
number
call.
2 call.
It is the number to call. Maybe it is more accurate. And our first caller has an idea of how they can improve on that heart rate mirror we were talking about from MIT yesterday.
Hey, Tom, this is Ryan from Ames, Iowa. I just had a thought about the whole mirror thing. Maybe take it to the next level. You know, imagine a Norton antivirus for your mirror. You know, you go stand in front of the mirror. Not only does it tell you your heart rate, it tells you, well, if you got a sick or, well, you looks like you got the flu today, and, you know, can maybe connect you to a doctor to get that taken care of. Enjoy the show. Bye.
So kind of like a medical tricorder pointed at you every morning.
Do
Do I want that every
that's
day?
that I don't know.
Yeah.
Does
I mean,
it know you're sick before you do?
If I'm actually sick, I do want that. Like if I'm, like, hey,
Right.
you catch this early sort of thing. But
Right.
But wouldn't you feel it? I mean, what does it matter if you're up, a half a
well, if it's something serious, right?
right?
Like, hey, you've got a.
If you're so feverish that you don't know what's
Carcinoma
going
in
on,
your
your mirror's
nose.
going to say, you're in trouble, buddy.
But you always hear those horror stories of somebody's like, he had no idea he was sick, and then he just
Yeah.
collapsed. And
Yeah.
if the mirror could catch that, that's the kind of stuff I'm up for. But yeah, not every cold. It's like, yeah, you're sick. Yeah, I know.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, how hot am I? Really,
Really
hot.
hot.
Should go to the hospital.
Feverish. On to the emails, TNT@twit.tv. Steve2 in England says, hey, Tom and the gang, just to let you know that T-Mobile and Orange have joined forces here in the UK, which you may already know as this is not new news. However, from the 5th of October 2010, you can now sign up to T-Mobile so that if you have no signal, your phone will switch to Orange at no extra cost. This sounds great, but if you're getting a very poor signal with T-Mobile, the phone won't change carrier even if there is a better signal from Orange. Why they didn't just merge the cell towers and make it one carrier, I don't know. Hopefully they will soon. This would cover all of the UK, or at least England. I wish we had been able to get Lee connected because he told us in prep. We had a fine connection in prep, and he's like, oh, yeah, I talked to Orange about this. I have some information. And we're like, oh, save it for the show. Dumb.
And
we
now
we should have made him give it to us.
It's one of those rare occasions that he shouldn't have saved it for the show.
That's true.
Yeah.
That rarely ever
It
happens.
rarely
Yeah.
happens.
You're right. Shadow Tiger writes in and says, I know it was just a joke, but wanted to say that I use the Opera browser except for a tiny minority of websites that aren't compatible. The built-in feature that lets you right-click on annoying Flash banner and block it forever is extremely useful.
You guys
Of
have to
course.
stop being so mean to.
Yeah, I was a
The
joke,
users
and he
of-
says, I know it's a joke, but what's funny about this, he's like, except for that tiny minority of websites that aren't compatible. Let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, next email from Tony from Wisconsin says, hey, Tom, Commissioner of Fantasy Sports on the Internet, and everybody else. I can't help but think that Google TV will triumph over Roku, Apple TV, BoxUox, etc. All of the competition are making single hardware devices, whereas Google is making a platform. Just like Android versus iOS, Google TV will start out slow, But as more and more manufacturers of TVs, Blu-ray players, DVRs, etc., start making new devices with Google TV already integrated, the numbers will guarantee a decisive win in the end.
We had about 8 people leave the chat room that I assume are Opera users.
We're so sorry.
I
They're not
think
watching.
Tony's got a very good point here. There is not a Roku platform. It's not like I can take Roku and install it on a bunch of different devices. Roku wants to sell it on Roku devices.
Yes.
Although I'm not saying that they would be adverse to licensing it out to someone.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably not going to happen with Apple anytime soon.
Apple
or ever.
definitely not.
But Roku.
Roku maybe. Boxy Box would love it because they have software. It's available to install on a Media Center box.
Sure.
But Google TV does have a leg up with that because they're used to distributing software like that because they've been doing Android on the phones. So they've got some experience and they may have a leg up. Roku and Boxy just haven't been able to get distribution on other platforms the way that Google TV can by just saying, hey, it's Android, it's open source. We've modified it, but, do whatever you need.
I mean, this is a proven model.
Boxy could
about
do
Windows?
that. Boxy's over there going, it's what we want.
Right.
Why are you going to Google?
Well, Boxy, why don't you call Google and see if they'll work with you? You probably haven't tried that yet.
Nah, I bet they have.
Yeah,
actually.
I bet they have too.
All right. Well, very sorry that we couldn't get Lee Brown connected during the show. That does suck. But we will try to have him back on again. Thanks to everybody for watching the show. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can call us, 260-TNT-SHOW, or you can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv. That's it for this week. We'll see you Monday.
Ow.
Pull a muscle?
Occupational hazard.
I did. Yeah.